So European troops are in Greenland for a two-day training mission after the White House met with Danish and Greenland officials this week.
The Vice President and the Secretary of State were present for that meeting. In that meeting, the two sides agreed to really establish a working group of individuals who will continue to have technical talks on the acquisition of Greenland. Those talks will take place, I'm told, every 2 to 3 weeks. But the President has made his priority quite clear. He wants the United States to acquire Greenland. He thinks it's in our best national security to do that. I don't think troops in Europe impact the President's decision-making process, nor does it impact his goal of the acquisition of Greenland at all.
Louisiana Governor, Special Envoy to Greenland, Jeff Landry, joins us now. Governor, what was accomplished, were you told? What was accomplished in those talks, were you told?
Look, I think they finally are having a serious discussion about what a association or cooperation or a relationship, a better relationship with Greenland looks like. I mean, again, the president is serious about reinforcing the Monroe Doctrine. This is something that should have happened 20 years ago. 20 years ago, we'd have been having this discussion. It would have been a bipartisan position. Nobody would be complaining. They would say that the president is doing a great job to secure our homeland. Now, because it's President Trump, you know, they just want to complain about it. This is an unbelievable deal. Anyone on the East Coast, Brian, should be concerned about this. The Chinese have built more icebreakers in 1 year than the United States has built in the history of the country. They're not building those icebreakers for fun. They're building them in order to be able to gain control of the Arctic. And the president knows that. And look, this is public knowledge. And so if you're on the East Coast, you want a stronger presence in Greenland.
So, Governor, the French sent 13 people, the Germans sent 15 people. They want to show a resolve to stand behind Denmark, who runs Greenland. Since we notice they have oil, gas, and rare earth minerals, and well, perfectly located to expand our Golden Dome system, do you think there's a deal to be done there? It seems as though we've gotten their attention. They're concerned about us just taking it. So do you think that there might be a sweet spot?
This is a president who masters deal making. And so, yes, I do believe that there's a deal that should and will be made once this plays out.
So when you see the fact that everyone seems so exercised by this, do you feel as though that makes the president dig in more, or does it make him want to come to the table?
Look, I think that the president is serious. I think he's laid the markers down. He's told Denmark what he's looking for. And now it's a matter of having Secretary Rubio and Vice President J.D. Vance make a deal.
Space Command is there. We have not really done much with those bases. And then they have not even explored rare earth minerals. Denmark has not done nothing. Greenland doesn't seem curious. So when you have a recent poll that shows that, and we can put that up, that only 25% of the American people favor it, maybe they don't understand strategically what the benefits are, and 75% oppose, it seems to me that very few would oppose us expanding massive look into their rare earth or expanding the Golden Dome or the missile defense.
Well, Brian, if you lived in New England, and certainly again on the East Coast, remember that Greenland is halfway between Russia and Washington, D.C. And, of course, you never appreciate keeping the wolf or the bear from your door until they're knocking on it.
Governor, are you going to go? Are you going to go check this out? Are you going to meet with officials?
Absolutely. Look, I think it's a great opportunity for Louisiana. I think it's a great opportunity for America. I think it's a phenomenal opportunity for Greenlanders to really expand their economy and join one of the most advanced and the strongest economies in the world. So there's a lot to do there. Look, again, I'm looking forward to a trip to go watch the greatest dog sled race in Greenland.
Oh, yeah. So you're going in March, right?
That's what the plan is.
All right. So the governor of Louisiana is going to be watching a dog sled race in Greenland. Never thought you'd be doing that, but you certainly are. Governor, thanks so much. We'll see what happens.
Thank you, Brian.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.